Have you ever realized that comfort is the silent enemy that kills your dreams? Most people believe that success comes from inspiration, from bursts of motivation, from extraordinary moments. They look for novelty, big ideas, and turning points that will change their lives. But after just a few weeks, that inspiration fades away. And they return to the starting line tired, discouraged, and confused as to why nothing seems to be progressing. The truth is, success is not born from inspiration, but from consistency. And that consistency is forged in the dullest days. The days when you repeat the same actions over and over, when no one claps, no one praises you. The days when you wake up early, focus, work, learn, improve, even though no one sees your effort. It's precisely those "so boring I want to quit" moments that form the foundation of greatness. I've seen hundreds of people quit just before success arrived, simply because they thought boredom meant wrong direction. But those who understand the value of repetition don't think that way. They know that when you feel bored, it means you're getting closer to a breakthrough. In today's video, I'll share with you the profound principles that will help you understand and master the art of boredom, something the successful see as an ally, while the unsuccessful fear it. And you should stay until the end of the video, because Principle #4 will change the way you look at repetition and maybe the way you work every day. Principle #1: boredom is a sign of progress. Most people quit not because they lack talent, but because they can't stand feeling bored. They want everything to always be new, exciting, and full of a sense of progress. But the truth is, real progress often happens in silence. I once coached a young student named Daniel. He was very smart, full of energy, and wanted to change his life. In the first month, Daniel worked nonstop, reading books, writing plans, taking meticulous notes. But by the second month, he started complaining. "Coach, I feel like I've been doing the same thing over and over, and nothing feels new. I'm not as excited as I was at the beginning." I smiled and said, "Daniel, when you feel bored, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're going deeper, breaking through the shiny surface and reaching the true essence of success." Then I told him about a farmer. Every day, he does the same thing. Plant seeds, water them, wait. Nothing changes. No applause. No one comes by to say, "You're doing great." But he keeps going. And then, one morning, the first sprout appears. That's not magic, it's the reward of consistency. Boredom is the hidden part of the process, the stage where you don't see results, but everything is quietly taking shape inside. It's like building muscles. You don't see change after one workout, or even a week, but your body is remembering, adapting, transforming, and one day people will ask, "What's your secret?" You'll simply smile and say, "I just didn't quit." Success is the same way. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or spotlights. It's created in quiet mornings, in repetitive work sessions, in the moments you choose to try again, even when no one sees, even when no one cares. Remember this, boredom is not your enemy. It's the universe testing whether you're truly serious about your dream. If you quit every time you get bored, you'll just start over with something else and get bored again. But if you keep going just a few more steps, you'll pass through that fog and see the first light of results. It's like learning to play an instrument. At first, you're excited by every note. But after a few weeks, those finger exercises become dull. Many people stop there. But the persistent ones, they keep practicing, note by note. And one day, they can create music not because they were lucky, but because they made it through the boredom. I often tell my students, if you can't learn to love boredom, you'll never reach greatness. Quote, "True success doesn't belong to those who start strong, but to those who keep going, even when no one cheers, even when no one notices." A question for you. What are you doing today that feels boring, but is actually bringing you closer to your dream? And if you've ever thought that inspiration alone is enough, the next principle will show you that it's repetition, not inspiration, that forges the character of successful people. Principle #3: repetition builds character. There's a simple truth many people don't want to accept. Success doesn't come from special moments, but from ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary discipline. People often say, "I want to change my life." But when you ask them, "Are you willing to do the same thing every day, even when no one sees you, even when no one praises you?" most fall silent. Because repetition is the hardest thing to do. It's boring, it demands patience, and it brings no immediate reward. But it is within repetition that character is born. Look at an athlete. Day after day, they practice the same swing, the same step, the same move. Not hundreds of different ones, just one. Repeated until it becomes instinct. While others quit halfway because, I've already tried that. They keep going. They understand that the difference between good and great lies in the number of repetitions. I once visited a sculpture workshop when I was young. I saw a sculptor strike a stone block hundreds of times with his hammer, and nothing changed. But on the 101st strike, the entire block cracked. I asked him, was it the last strike that broke it? He smiled and said, no, it was the 100 before it that weakened it. The 101st just released it. I've carried that lesson with me my whole life. Success is the same way. There's no magical 101st strike. Quote, there are only hundreds, even thousands of small actions you persist with, tired, bored, seeing no results. And one day, everything will crack open and others will call it a breakthrough. But to you, it's simply the reward for all those unseen days. Artists are no different. A perfect piece of music isn't written in one night of inspiration. It's created over hundreds of hours of practice, refining every note and every sound. When you hear them perform, it looks effortless. But that effortlessness only comes after countless repetitions. Un entrepreneur tout. A successful product doesn't come from the first idea. It's born from hundreds of cycles of trying, failing, learning, and rebuilding. They don't repeat because they fear change. They repeat because they understand. Each cycle is a refinement. Each iteration brings them closer to mastery. Think about a drop of water falling on a rock. One drop does nothing, but the 10,000th drop carves into the stone. Not because it's stronger, but because it never stops. True strength doesn't lie in the first time, but in the next time you do it, even when no one's watching. Many people say, I tried once and it didn't work. But I often ask, did you try long enough to get good at it? No one masters a skill, a habit, or a lifestyle by just trying. Repetition isn't trying, it's commitment. If you build the habit of repeating the right things, you won't have to win the battle with your emotions every day, because discipline will have become your reflex. When you repeat, you're building a new you from the inside, steadier, stronger, more resilient. And one day, you'll look back and realize you no longer have to force yourself to be disciplined. You are disciplined. I often tell my students, you don't need to do extraordinary things to succeed. You just need to do ordinary things in an extraordinary way every single day. Repetition is how you build character. Each time you choose the right thing over the easy thing, each time you show up instead of making excuses, you're strengthening your willpower like a sculptor chiseling stone, one strike at a time. And when you finally achieve what you desire, you'll realize the most valuable thing isn't the result, it's the person you've become through repetition. Ask yourself, what have you abandoned just because repetition bored you? And if today you tried one more time, could that be your 101st strike? Because if you truly want to go far, the next principle will show you why successful people don't wait for motivation to act. They act to create motivation. Principle Shabak Thalatha, do it. Even when you don't feel like it. Have you ever woken up in the morning and told yourself, I just don't feel motivated to work today? Everyone has. Even I, Jim Rohn, have had mornings when I didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to teach, didn't want to write or speak another word, but I learned an invaluable lesson. If you only work when you feel inspired, your life won't go very far. Emotions are like the weather, they change every day. There are sunny days when you're full of energy, and there are rainy, gloomy days when everything feels heavy. If you let your mood dictate your actions, your life will become a reflection of inconsistency, unstable, stagnant, and unfulfilled. Successful people don't wait for inspiration to begin. They act to create inspiration because they understand inspiration isn't the cause, it's the result of action. I remember once, after a long series of seminars, I was completely drained. I felt empty, no energy, no spark left. That evening, I was scheduled to speak in front of more than 500 people. To be honest, I didn't want to go, but I still put on my suit, showed up, and stood on stage as promised. I started speaking softly. Slowly, the room was quiet. Then after a few minutes, I noticed one person in the audience, their eyes lit up at something I said. And in that moment, my inspiration came rushing back. I realized sometimes action doesn't need inspiration. It's action that creates inspiration. Imagine a runner. It's cold, windy, and he doesn't feel like going outside. But the moment his shoes hit the ground, the moment his breath meets the morning air, everything changes. His heartbeat rises, his energy returns, and inspiration arrives. Not before action, but after it. Inspiration isn't a gift you receive. It's a reward for those who are willing to begin. Many people fail because they get the order wrong. They think motivation must come first, then action. But successful people know you must act first, then motivation follows. If you keep waiting for the right moment, you'll be waiting forever. There is no perfect morning, no just right time, no ready feeling. There's only you and the choice to act even when you don't want to. One of the things I deeply believe is this: your true strength is not measured by what you do when you're inspired, but by what you keep doing when you have no inspiration left. Because when you act despite not wanting to, you're not just practicing a habit, you're training your will. You're proving to yourself, I don't do this because I feel like it. I do it because I'm committed. And that's what separates you from the crowd. Because the crowd acts on feelings, while leaders act on purpose. If you develop this habit, every area of your life will transform. You'll read even when you're not in the mood, train even when your body's tired, work even when no one acknowledges you. And over time, you'll become stronger, steadier, and more dependable. I often tell my students, you may not be able to control your emotions every day, but you can always control your actions. Oh, don't let emotions dictate your outcomes. Because emotions are guests, but action is the homeowner. Every time you act when you don't feel like it, you send a powerful message to yourself. I'm growing. I'm winning against myself. And one day, you'll see something amazing. The things you once had to force yourself to do will become second nature. That's when you realize you're no longer just acting with discipline, you've become disciplined. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you delayed something just because you didn't feel like it? And if today you simply started even without motivation, how much could your life change? So if you want to turn discipline into joy, the next principle will show you how to transform boredom into a ritual, not a burden. If you feel this video is speaking directly to you, make sure to subscribe so we can continue this journey together to build discipline and rediscover genuine inspiration in life. Principle Shebek Erbat. Turn boredom into a ritual. I once said, if you can't avoid boredom, turn it into an art. Because in truth, your life will always include repetitive things. Waking up, working, studying, training, building. The difference doesn't lie in whether you repeat, but in how you perceive that repetition. Failures see daily small tasks as a burden. Successful people see them as the rituals of growth. When you begin to treat each steady action as a ritual, you no longer feel bored, you feel meaning. Morning isn't just waking up, it's the start of a new chapter. Reading isn't forcing yourself to study, it's a conversation with knowledge. Training isn't physical labor, it's an act of respect for your body and mind. That's the difference between someone who lives with discipline and someone who lives in laziness. Disciplined people don't look for ways to avoid repetition, they honor it. I remember visiting a small dojo in Japan. A boy of about 10 was practicing one strike, the same movement over and over for more than an hour. I asked the master, "Aren't you afraid the boy will get bored?" He smiled. "No, because I'm not teaching him martial arts. I'm teaching him how to turn each strike into a ritual of training the mind." That sentence left me silent for a long time. And I realized we don't need to avoid boredom. We need to learn to be fully present in each boring moment. When you read a page, don't think, how many more pages do I have to read? Think, I am nourishing my mind right now. When you write your plan each morning, don't think, another to-do list. Think, I'm reshaping my life line by line. And when you train, don't think, I'm just getting this over with. Think, I'm forging a stronger version of myself. The difference lies in your awareness while doing, not in what you do. This world glorifies results, but the great honor the rituals of the process. They understand that every small act done with a grand mindset can become sacred. Like an artist refining every detail of a statue. Even when no one sees, they still take care because they know it's the ritual of devotion. And strangely enough, when you start treating repetitive tasks as rituals, everything around you changes. You no longer have to do, you get to do. You no longer count the minutes passing. You enjoy each one because you know every moment is making you better. People often ask me, how do I maintain motivation every day? I answer, don't look for motivation, look for ritual. Because motivation can come and go, but ritual stays. It becomes part of who you are. When you have a clear morning ritual, a consistent chain of habits, you don't need to wonder, how should I start today? You simply do. And that very stability brings true freedom. I've seen too many people who want to change their lives, yet can't sustain the little things. They want great results without walking through boredom. Successful people are different. They do small things with the mindset of a craftsman. They don't do them because of feelings. They do them out of respect for their own journey. Try reviewing your habits today. Is there something you're doing just to get it over with? Stop, take a deep breath, and do it again this time with the mindset of a ritual. You'll feel the difference. Because when you change the way you do things, you don't just change the result, you're changing the very person you're becoming. And ask yourself, if each day of yours were a ritual, how would you start your morning and live that entire day? And once you've learned to love repetition, the next principle will reveal an even deeper truth. Inspiration doesn't come before action. Inspiration only comes to the persistent. Principle Shabaki Khamsa. Inspiration comes after action. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen young people make is that they sit and wait for inspiration to begin. They say, I'll do it when I feel inspired. But the problem is, inspiration never seeks out those who only sit and wait. Inspiration isn't a lightning bolt from the sky. It's a flame kindled in the process of action. I still remember clearly my early days on the teaching path. I had no crowd, no stage, no lights, just a small room, a few listeners, and me full of anxiety. There was a time I almost canceled a talk because I felt no inspiration to speak. But det still went. I still spoke even with a shaky voice, a pounding heart, and a feeling of being not ready. And strangely, after a few minutes, inspiration began to appear. Not from the outside, but from within, from doing what I believed was right. I understood one thing. Inspiration only appears once you've begun to move. Like a heavy wheel, hard to turn at first, but once it's spinning, it generates its own momentum. Many people think they need strong emotions to act, but successful people know action is the raw material that creates emotion. If you want to feel motivated, start. If you want to believe in yourself, do the first small thing. If you want to rediscover passion, return to your desk, pick up the pen, open the book, begin again. Inspiration isn't the reason, it's the reward. And that reward is only for those who dare to act before the feelings show up. Look at an artist. He doesn't wait for the muse to arrive before painting. He sits down, picks up the brush, lays the first stroke, and as the lines take shape, as the mind sinks into the work, the flame of inspiration flares up. Inspiration is like warmth from a campfire. You can't stand far away and say, I'll come over when I'm warm. You have to stack the wood, kneel down, and start. Only then does the warmth spread. And here's the interesting part. Inspiration gives birth to more action, and action produces more inspiration. It's a positive cycle that successful people have learned to start anytime they want. While the average person asks, how do I get inspired? Successful people ask, what can I do to begin? They don't wait. They don't make excuses. They understand that only when you begin does everything else begin to move. I had a student once, a young businessman. He told me, I'll start when I feel ready. 3 months later, I met him again. He still hadn't started. I said, the issue isn't that you're not ready, it's that you haven't begun. Just one step, just one small action, that's enough. Because a small action in the right direction is stronger than 1,000 unexecuted ideas. Remember, inspiration isn't something to search for. It's something triggered when you start doing the right thing. You don't need to be ready, you just need to begin. One of the sayings I always believe is, don't wait for inspiration to act. Act to find inspiration. Because when you act without feelings, you're proving that you're not a slave to emotions, you are their master. And amazingly, once you've started, everything begins to change. Confidence returns, energy comes back, and inspiration. The thing you thought you'd lost appears like a loyal friend that was always waiting for your first step. Answer for yourself. If today you only had to do one small thing to rekindle inspiration, what would it be? Because in the end, Success isn't just about consistent action. It's also about knowing how to sustain belief, even when results haven't arrived yet. And that's exactly what you'll learn in the next principle. When we talk about success, everyone thinks of explosive moments, the spotlight, recognition. But the truth is simpler and much quieter. Success isn't forged in grand moments. It's built in ordinary days. The days when you don't feel inspired, the mornings when you want to quit, the things you do over and over that seem meaningless are exactly when you're training yourself to become someone your future self can be proud of. Remember the 5 principles today. Principle Hayshown. Boredom is a sign of progress. When you feel bored, it means you're digging deeper, not going the wrong way. Principle #2. Repetition builds character. Each time you repeat the right thing, you're building a stronger new part within yourself. Principle #3. Do it even when you don't feel like it. Don't let feelings dictate action, because action is what shapes feelings. Principle Cancelletto 4. Turn boredom into a ritual. When you put your heart into each small task, you turn your life into a meaningful journey. Principle #5. Inspiration comes after action. Don't wait for motivation to begin. Begin to regain motivation. If you can live by these 5 principles, you won't need luck, because you yourself will become the most vivid source of inspiration for your own life. And then one day when others ask, "How can you be so consistent?" you'll smile and say, "I just didn't quit, even when things got boring." Because success doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from consistency on uninspired days. If you're truly serious about your personal growth journey, please like this video, subscribe to the Jim Rohn Treasures channel, and comment below with 2 words, "I am consistent," to remind yourself every day that you will keep going even when no one's cheering. And as Jim Rohn once said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So keep that discipline, because one day you'll realize the very things that are most boring today will create the extraordinary life of tomorrow.